So we will continue to read our reading very important book by Babasaheb Ambedkar, which was published in the year 1942 on 29th October, and which was titled as Grievances of the Scheduled Castes. And we have covered two reading classes so far, and today we will be proceeding on with the next reading class. So I request Dara to begin to read the next text. So it's about, wait. So I think this is what we are, this is what we were at, no?
Yes, sir.
So maybe you can begin to read from here. What is the provision?
18. What is the provision which this resolution makes to safeguard the position of the scheduled caste? I give below the two relevant provisions of the resolution. In paragraph 3, the resolution states that no useful purpose will be served by reserving for them depressed classes or definite percentage of vacancies out of the number available for Hindus as a whole, but they hope to ensure that duly qualified candidates from the depressed classes are not deprived from their fair opportunities of appointment. The way in which government hoped to ensure to the scheduled caste a fair share of representation in the public services is specified in para 7.1.6 of the resolution, which reads as follows. In order to secure fair representation for the depressed classes, duly qualified member of these classes may be nominated to a public service even though recruitment to that service is being made by competition. A pursuit of these proposals bring out two facts. One, the resolution does not declare the scheduled caste to be a minority. Second, the resolution does not allot to the scheduled caste any fixed proportions of the annual vacancies. It goes without saying that there is a striking contrast between the provisions made by the Government of India for the securing the recruitment of the scheduled caste and for the other minor communities to the public services. The contrast can be expressed in one sentence. The recruitment of the other community is owing to the resolution not left to be a matter of discretion. It has been made a matter of obligation. The recruiting authority must fill in vacancy by recruiting a person belonging to community for which the vacancy is reserved. The recruitment of the scheduled caste, on the other hand, has been made a mere matter of discretion. The recruiting authority must fill an unreserved vacancy by appointing a person from scheduled caste.
Yes, so this is very clear, and this is the continuation of what we have been talking in the last class, that the representation for the scheduled castes in the public service was a matter of nomination, and it was not a matter of what is called the discretion. And therefore, the obligation is very important for the other minorities. There was an obligation that the government will fill up those particular seats, but for the scheduled caste, which was not the case, because the scheduled caste was not considered to be the minority, and it does not allow to the scheduled caste any fixed proportion of the annual vacancies. So in order for us to understand why we have to read like this, is because the way Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar brings in a lot of contradictions vis-a-vis what was the situation, what was the population of the scheduled caste, and it makes very clear that there was no mechanism by which the scheduled caste could get their representation in the services. So should we go on reading further?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good.
19. It is owing to this difference between a must and may that the Muslims and other communities have been so well represented in the public services and the scheduled caste so completely excluded. No better result is possible so long as the government of India leaves the matter of the recruitment of the scheduled caste in public services to the discretion and goodwill of the appointing officers. These officers are either Europeans, Hindus, and Muslims. The European is blissfully ignorant of the scheduled caste and he has never made the protection of interest of the scheduled caste in his special concern. So as long as his general authority is maintained, he is prepared to follow the advice of his Hindus or Muslim subordinates. The Muslims are naturally striving to strengthen their position. They are concerned to see that as many vacancies as possible should go to the Muslims. At any rate, all those which are reserved to them, the Hindus who had so far the monopoly in the public services and who never know how to share the good things of life with others want to keep the balance to themselves. With their self-interest combined with their age-old prejudices against the scheduled caste, the Hindus will never be fair to them. It is it is a sheer delusion to leave the discretion of such officers the question of the recruitment of the scheduled caste and to hope that scheduled caste will as a result of it secure a fair share of representation.
Yes. So that's very fairly clear, right? As to how the mere nomination by the authorities cannot ensure the representation of the scheduled caste because the officers are either Europeans or either they are the Hindus or Muslims, and both Europeans are advised by both the Hindus and Muslims, and they are never ever going to allow the scheduled caste person to enter into the public services. So this paragraph number 19 is very clear, and you can still see today as to such is the case that if you leave everything for nomination or if you leave any loopholes in the recruitment process, it has been taken undue advantage of by the so-called upper castes or those people who are in the power. They are never trying to get the scheduled caste in the services. So you see, as a way of language, we can see in the beginning of the 19th point, it is owing to this difference between must and may. You see, so in the case of other minorities, it's must for the government to fill up the seats, but for the case of the scheduled caste, the word is may. They may, and that difference between must and may makes a whole lot of difference in the recruitment process itself. Right. So anybody has anything to say? Sunny, Umesh, or Dara, would you like to have any comments on this?
No, sir.
Okay. Umesh ji,
No, sir, it's fine.
Sunny?
Sir, I've just, I've just joined actually, so
Okay.
I was not able to get the whole background.
Okay. So let we go on reading. Okay. Okay, Dara, please go on reading 20 point.
Okay. 20. The question of entry into the public services is an important question for all minority community, but to the scheduled caste it is a vital question, a question of life and death. There are many reasons why this must be so. In the first place, it is a question of opening up a career for young men from the scheduled caste. This is an aspect of the question which scheduled caste and even the government of India cannot ignore. Trade and industry as opening for a career are all blocked to young men of scheduled caste. It is only in government service that they can find a career. While this is an important aspect, it is not the only aspect which makes this question so vital. For there is another aspect which is calculated to invest it with such importance. That aspects relates to the effect which the bestowal of government patronage has in encouraging the spread of education in a community. The case of Hindu community is quite in point. The rapid progress in which Hindu community has made, of course, very striking, but it is very seldom realized that the reason why education has taken such a deep root in the Hindu society is entirely due to assurance that education opens up a career by entry in government service. Such
Sorry.
such assurance of career is absolutely necessary in the case of the scheduled caste who are so backward in education. There
Okay.
is a
So here is the logic why there has to be the government service available for the members of the scheduled caste who at that time made up of 40 million people, and today more than 230 or 40 million people. So why there is a need of having this educational service, government service for them, because that gives them an incentive to study, because the trade and commerce is blocked to them, other avenues of employments are blocked to them. So in that case, the only thing that remains for them to aspire for is the government service, and that's why they will take the education seriously. So you see the point as to how Babasaheb Ambedkar is arguing. So as I said in the previous reading classes and the sessions, that is very important for us to understand logically as to how Babasaheb Ambedkar is coming at certain conclusion, the way he's making the points, the way he's putting forward the case. And I think this paragraph illustrates how the employment opportunities in the public service is so crucial for the members or for the young people among the scheduled castes, right?
yes.
Okay, so you can go on reading further.
There is a third argument far more weighty than the two which have been referred to above. It relates to the interest of the general population of the scheduled caste people as distinguished from the interest of the educated classes from the scheduled caste. This will be clear if it is realized how important public administration is from the point of view of the public welfare. In the first place, power of administration nowadays includes the power to legislate. No statute in modern days is complete and exhaustive. Most allow the administration the statutory power to make rules to carry into effect the purpose of the act. Secondly, whether the law is beneficial or not.
Dhara, this is a very important point that we need to understand. Okay. So, when Babasaheb Ambedkar argues the case, he begins from a weaker point and then goes up to the stronger point. And here, if you see that, the importance of public administration is from the point of view of public welfare. And Babasaheb Ambedkar makes a very important statement here that how the role of executive also includes the power to legislate. So legislative power is not just confined in the hands of the lawmakers, but also the executives or the government servants at that level, the civil servants have certain statutory power. And this is a very important point that Babasaheb Ambedkar has made. Most allow the administration the statutory power to make rules, because when the law is made by the parliament, the rules are made by the so-called executives, and the rule making is another business, as we see that it's a very exhaustive business, and it commands a lot of power to make the rules. And a lot of laws related to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes sometimes are made weak laws because by virtue of the rules. And in order for the law to come into force, there has to be rules and the role of the executive. So Babasaheb Ambedkar is building up the case, and it's a very serious case as to why it is important for the members of the scheduled caste to enter into the public administration. Then only the public welfare can be ensured. And we see this time and again, right?
Yes, sir. So the power sharing argument, the why power is necessary for because that laws will be made by the scheduled caste.
Yes. Yes, that's a very important point, Dara. Very, very important point.
Sir, here can we summarize it like this? If participation at all the three levels is important
Yes.
in making the law,
Hmm.
in means administrating the laws,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and if any dispute arises,
Hmm.
then in judging
Hmm. Hmm.
that conflict also.
Yes,
That's why we need participation in all the three levels.
that's true. That is true.
That are the pillars of any polity.
Yeah.
So for the education, there is only also a utilitarian argument. So if there is misery around, so one cannot enjoy. If so, Babasaheb is not giving that argument. It is he's giving the education is important for the sake of scheduled caste. It's
But
current.
also in order for them to have the power in the administration to
Yes.
represent themselves in the public administration.
Yes. So the other argument is like demographic dividend or how we can utilize that. So Babasaheb is saying for the upliftment of the scheduled caste, it is necessary.
Yes. But for also the effective functioning of the public administration, for the public welfare.
Yes.
That is the important point, that the public administration is important from the point of view of public welfare. So when we are talking about public welfare, we cannot neglect a substantial percentage of a population from the public administration, right? We cannot, by that way, ensure the public welfare. That's the point.
Yes.
We have to bold out these line words also that Baba have beautifully written over here. Good administration is therefore far more important than good laws.
Yes.
If law is there, if administration is poor, then they will make fun of the law.
Yeah. Good, very good point. So Dhara, please go on reading further.
Okay.
And we have so much to discuss, right?
Yes.
Very important points are coming up.
No statute in modern days is complete and exhaustive. Most allow the administration the statutory power to make rules to carry into effect the purposes of the act. Secondly, whether the law is beneficial or not depends upon how efficaciously and how justly it is carried out. Good administration is therefore far more important than good laws. Good laws may prove of no avail if the administration is bad. Administration is therefore a vital question for the scheduled caste who are more interested in good administration than in good laws. Is the present administration good administration? What do the scheduled caste think of the present day administration? There can be no doubt that the view universally held is that the whole administration is hostile, unjust.
Sorry, yeah, go on.
Okay. Hostile, unjust, and perverse in its attitude towards the scheduled caste all over India. Indeed, much of the suffering and harassment of the scheduled caste population arises from the fact that the direction vested in public servant is in almost all cases exercised against the interest of the scheduled caste and with the object of keeping them down. This is as it must be given the mentality of the Hindu and Muslim officers towards the scheduled caste. This will continue to be so as long as the personnel of the administration is drawn from the classes who have been opposed to scheduled caste and who believe in their suppression. There cannot be a more powerful argument than that of advantage and welfare of the general population of the scheduled caste to show that the entry of the scheduled caste in the public service must be regarded as a most vital consideration.
Okay, so I have been talking about public policies, and we have been discussing about the way Babasaheb Ambedkar looked at the public policies. And whenever we look at any public policy, we have to understand or bear in mind these two important things: whether the policy is efficient, or whether the policy promotes justice. And therefore, on when we look at the criteria by which the public administration was governed, which because of the sheer number of representation from the other communities who are hostile to the scheduled castes communities, they cannot ensure the justice for them. And such is the case even today when you look at the implementation of the acts like Atrocity Act, or even reservation policy, or so on and so forth. They are very beautiful policies which are out there. But when it comes to the implementation of them, because the implementers are coming from a background which is hostile to the scheduled caste, they don't implement the acts or the laws or the policies according to the letter and spirit of the laws. So what Babasaheb Ambedkar is trying to point us to is that any policy, any public policy has to be judged from the point of view of efficiency and justice. So whenever we are looking at or reading this kind of document, which is so vital, and this document, as we can see, has had such an impact on the welfare of the scheduled caste in the time to come, because it was written in 1942, and then a lot of policies came into being, and a lot of things were ensured based on this policy memo for the benefit of the scheduled caste. So you see, when we are reading this, we have to read it very microscopically. So whether the law is beneficial or not depends upon how efficaciously and how justly it is carried out. So two tests to know whether the particular law or a policy is good. There are two criteria: whether it's efficient, and whether it promotes justice. Right? So bear in mind these two criteria. So whenever the young people who are trying to enter into the public domain or public administration or policy making must think about efficiency and what is called the justice. So this memo is as Umesh Bhai was referring, full of very pithy sentences. There's no statute in modern days is complete and exhaustive. There's always a gap between the law and the implementation, right? And how it is implemented is in the hands of the public servants. And if the public servants are biased, we know what happens. So,
Yes, sir.
yes. So should we go on reading, or what should we do?
Yes, sir.
Anybody has anything to say?
Yeah, we should go on. Sir.
Okay. Go on reading.
Okay.
21.
21. Certain facts are beyond doubt. The source of mischief is evident. How vital is the service interest of the scheduled caste is also clear. How serious is the mischief done to this vital interest by the discrimination which government has in its resolution of 4th July 1934 made against the scheduled caste as compared with the other communities, nobody can dispute. How disastrous have been the consequences of the scheduled caste will be apparent from the figures given in the following table relating to the communal composition to ICS.
Okay, so the point here is, when Babasaheb Ambedkar is referring to the resolution of 4th July 1934, we have to bear something in mind, that whenever we go for any policy analysis, we have to see what are the preceding policies. And Babasaheb Ambedkar has proved, looking at the previous policy resolution about, of 1934, as to how it has gone against the interest of the scheduled caste. And now he is proving the case. So we can look at this table, and we can know that scheduled castes have just one, right? And their population is so vast. In the percentage, if we compare the percentage, the seats are 1056. The total seats, only one representative from the scheduled caste in 1942 in the Indian civil services. Isn't it surprising, right? And in terms of the percentage, nil, nothing, right? While the European 42% and Hindus 34%, the Muslims 10%. And when it comes to the scheduled caste, there is no representation in 1942. There is just one member in the Indian civil services belonging to the scheduled caste. Okay, let's look at, is this table clear to you all?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. And ICS through competition and nomination. You see the scheduled caste through nomination only one, isn't it?
Yes.
So this is very clear, and that person who has gone into civil services from the scheduled caste background, he's nominated, isn't it?
Yes.
So 40 million people and only one person in the scheduled caste, that too by nomination. Let's look at the table number 3. This table is clear to you all?
Yes, sir.
Sunny, Umesh?
Yes, sir. All
Okay.
Yes,
good.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good, good, good. So let's look at the table number 5. Population ratio as compared with the ratio in the ICS. You see, scheduled caste have nothing, population ratio, negative number. The Hindus have plus, the Indian Christian plus, and the scheduled caste, nothing. They have no representation at all, 0 representation, right?
Right.
The tantamount.
Sir, kindly throw light on this this population ratio. I am not getting, means 1.3. What does it reflect?
So
13.5.
yeah. So the percentage of the the scheduled caste population is what? 13.5%. Hindus 50%. Okay, but they are 63% in the administration, right? Their population is 50%. Hindus, Muslims 23%, right? Look at the column number 1 to 3. You can see the population ratio.
This 63.2% is excluding Europeans.
Yeah. So that is how much is their percentage of population in the civil services. In the civil services, the Hindus constitute 63.2%. Their actual population is 50%, right? So they have excess of representation.
And we are in negative in that percentage because we are not having any stake in that.
Any stake in that. Even we are 13.5% scheduled caste. We have 0 seat representation. That means our representation has been taken up, right? Taken away.
Yeah. That's
Good.
and this is the picture that every our community should frame it and keep it in their houses. What's the what's the scenario?
Yeah. But you see how meticulous is Babasaheb Ambedkar. The point is, when you are drafting your case, when you are arguing for your case, you should get all the facts and figures together, isn't it? Then nobody can challenge.
Yes, we are not writing the mythologies, no.
Yeah.
No, nothing fictitious.
Nothing fictitious there. That's true.
Yes.
That's very true. So should we go on reading further?
Sure,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. From 22 onwards.
22. From this table, the following conclusions stand out as incontrovertible facts. 1. All communities have made a fair degree of progress towards getting their apportioned share of
apportioned, right? So apportioned. Okay. Go on.
Apportioned share of representation in the ICS. The only exception is the unfortunate community of the scheduled caste who have made no progress at all. 2. Some communities have secured a degree of representation in the ICS much in excess of their population ratio. This is noticeable in the case of the Hindus, excluding the share of the European, which is 50% and which must be excluded for comparing the relative position of the Indians. In the the Hindus have got 63% of the ICS appointments when the ratio of their population to the total population is only 50%. They are enjoying an excess of 13%. 3. Nomination was intended.
This is how you build up a case. Now, if you analyze the facts today, and somebody has to do it as to what is happening in 2023, isn't it, at various levels?
Is the 13% more is the portion of scheduled caste.
Yeah, that is in 1942 Dhara. If we compare it today, in all the levels, like in the
Yes.
secretarial level, joint secretarial level, deputy secretarial level, all levels.
Yes, sir.
So that will be the picture to hang at home, Umesh bhai.
Yes, sir. True.
Yes, Sunny?
And we will do it. And we will do it, definitely.
I
And
think
we will show how we have to keep before our eyes the real situations and how far we have to go from here.
I think, sir, in this current era, I think the argument, as Babasaheb tells, the truth is on our side, actually. We just need to look into it. And it's, given the huge disparity which still exists, in all the sectors, in all the different sectors of power sharing, be it judiciary, be it administrative job, be it private sector. By whichever way you point to, from left or right, the truth is on our side whether it comes to wealth distribution or land. The truth is on our side indeed. How could a population of 3 to 10% can have such control over 60% and have such higher average income rates? I think it points to the very degrading status. This does not fit the role model of a democratic nation which sidelines the participation of such huge communities. So I think a brilliant case can be made, indeed, sir.
Yeah. So maybe the young people like you get hold of the data and write such papers. The world is waiting for such papers.
Yeah.
Indeed, sir. And also, sir, even the young people from our community, reading Babasaheb speeches and all these things also help us to retain that confidence. To remove all those those inferiority complex and whatever. Because it is us who have historically been on the writer side. All these, because if you come across in any institution, and if suppose you come into a talk with any, say, forward caste people, and one or the other, as Babasaheb have told, caste is the monster that will cross your path, and you have to be well prepared when that day comes. So you need to push significant rebuttal when it comes, because truth is on our side indeed.
Okay. Very nicely worded, Sunny. So we go on reading.
Yes.
Sir,
yeah.
I can quote one good example over here.
Yeah.
This article has been written in 1924, in that era.
Yeah, 1942. Yeah.
And today it's 2023.
Yeah.
I'm having a copy of a result of public commission, where all other categories they have declared the result, and for that result category SC they written that no suitable candidate found.
Yeah.
This is the scenario.
And even, sir, I believe in the 1950s IAS results, I'm not sure whether it used to be called IAS, or I'm not sure, but still, even in those results, we see two candidates from scheduled castes and scheduled tribes topped. They were in the top rankers. One was some Das, I believe he was from Bengal area, I would assume. So he secured a very great number in written marks. But but because of such low marks, and these were the only two candidates who had secured the least marks in the interview. Probably it was 60, and all of the other factions of people were getting 132. I mean, even those who have pretty low written marks than them. So it is indeed a clear case of ostracization, or I mean, they don't want us to increase our level. I mean, like as
That's very
Babasaheb had mentioned, like the moment you raise your level, the conflict arises.
That's very true, because when I was appearing for the civil services in the 90s, most of the candidates from our community who were getting into the services at the age of 32, 33, like that. And I don't think the case has changed, but the situation has changed. And it's very strange. There were topmost candidates from all the brilliant backgrounds, but they couldn't make it before like 32s or 33s, like that, isn't it? And the interviews are often skewed, though there is supposed to be a scheduled caste, a member in the panel. The situation has improved a bit, isn't it? But not so much, I think.
Indeed, sir, indeed. And there was actually a very interesting paper written by the scholar Arvind Kumar, actually, where he has statistically assessed some using some index and all these things, how the results have been skewed in favor of the Savarnas, actually. So this article came in print, actually, I believe, and there was a quite uproar after a year after.
Do share
this
that
article.
that write-up.
Yeah, please.
Sure, I'll share in the WhatsApp group as I'll find it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, should we go on reading?
Sure, sir.
Okay. Lara?
Okay. The nomination was intended only to correct the inequalities of the competition, yet some communities have been given the benefit of nomination, although it has been able to secure a very large of the ICS appointments in competition, and who do not need and cannot claim the benefit of a nomination. This is undoubtedly the case with the Hindus. Between 1920s and 1942, the Hindus were able to secure 332 out of 435 that were filled by Indians by competition, and yet their page.
Oh, sorry.
Yet they were given 31 seats by nomination. The Muslims got only 35 appointments to the ICS by competition between 1920 and 1942, but they were given 74 by nomination. The Sikhs have got only 5 by competition, but they got 6 by nomination. The scheduled caste who got none by competition get only 1 by nomination. All this shows how the position of the scheduled caste has remained deplorable, and how government, which is striving to be considerate to other communities by not even trying to be correct towards the scheduled caste, is responsible for this result.
This is very clear, right?
Yes.
Okay, kindly go on reading further.
23. The condition of the scheduled caste is not only deplorable, and it is only intolerable. This is the result of the present policy of the government of India, under which the quantum of recruitment of the scheduled caste in the public services, instead of fixed by rule as is done in the case of the other minorities, is left to the discretion of the appointing authorities. The appointing authorities are mostly caste Hindus, and it is not possible to expect them to give the benefit of the discretion to the scheduled caste. I have no doubt that the interests of the scheduled caste will continue to be neglected and sacrificed to serve the interest of other communities. So, as long as the present system continues, the government of India should, without further delay, equalize the position of the scheduled caste and one, declare that they are a minority for the purpose of services like the other communities. Second, fix 13.5 as the proportion of annual vacancies in the ICS and both in the central services and the recruited on all India basis and that are recruited locally as the share to which they are entitled and which in equity and justice should be reserved for them. Unless this is done, the scheduled caste will never get their due share in public services.
Okay, so you see, this is what is important for us to note down when we are reading Babasaheb Ambedkar's this policy memo from the point of view of understanding the public policy. So one of the things that you can notice is the way the whole policy memo is drafted based on the facts and figures, right? There is nothing fanciful about it. There are the numbers, hard numbers, which are pointing out to the certain bitter truth. The conclusion of that is that the scheduled caste are not represented at all. And because there is no representation of the scheduled caste in the public administration, that public administration cannot, incline towards the public welfare. And the policy of the government to recruit the people by nomination or by, competition. Here, Babasaheb Ambedkar has proved that, even those people who are excessively represented through the competition are also excessively represented by the way of nomination. And, like a good policy memo, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar comes back to the solutions. And what are the solutions which are, advocated by Babasaheb Ambedkar here are very important for us to understand that for the purpose of the services, at least, the scheduled caste should be considered or declared to be the minority. Then the resolution of 1934 will have some bearing on that, and that will equalize the proportion, the population percentage. And the second is, he's saying that fix 13.5% of the proportion for the annual vacancies in the ICS. And then he goes on talking about the equity and justice. So you see, the criteria is efficiency, equity, and justice. So these are the three very important criteria by which you can judge the policy, any policy. And whenever we think about any policy, we have to take into consideration whether it is going to promote the equity, whether it will be efficient, and whether it will lead to the justice. So I think this analysis so far has been very meticulous for us to understand as to how Babasaheb Ambedkar was drafting the policy memo, factual, based on the hard facts, data, analysis of the data, coming to the conclusions, showing what is the case, and then recommending the solution to solve the problem. And here in this 23.1 and 23.2, we get a complete solution to the problems that was faced by the scheduled caste in the public administration, right?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Indeed,
after
sir.
proving the arguments and proving his case, he used I. I have no doubt that the interest of the scheduled caste. Otherwise, he is not using I anywhere. So he's giving arguments and facts only.
Yeah. So this is how you when you write this thing, you have to sometimes use the language in a direct way. Okay, so many a times people write in the third person, and this is written in the third person. But when you are sure that whatever you are saying is right, you have a conviction, you can talk in the first person. That's a beautiful way you can communicate, isn't it? Because this is signed by Dr. Ambedkar. This memorandum is signed by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar.
Yes.
Isn't it? So he is arguing the case, but he is not arguing the case emotionally. He is not arguing the case by virtue of fanciful thinking. He is arguing the case for the representation of the scheduled caste based on the facts, proving the facts, arriving at the conclusion, providing the solutions, so it's very practical. And then he's addressing with a personal pronouns, I, right?
Yes.
So I think we will go on reading 24, and then we will read in the next class. Okay. So let's go on reading 24.
Okay.
Unless you
20.
have something to offer. Sunny, you wanted to say something?
No.
Okay.
Nothing, sir. Data
Okay. Okay. Dara, go on reading 24. Okay, let me put 24. Okay.
24. The difficulty lies in the scheduled caste not being declared a minority. It is essential that this obstacle in their way be removed. The reason is that under the resolution of 4th July 1934, it is only when a community is declared to be minority that it becomes entitled to the benefit of reservation in public services. A community as such does not get any such benefit. It is difficult to see what objection there can be to a declaration that the scheduled caste are a minority. The term minority is a political term, and whatever may it be, its de jure definition, its de facto definition can never be in doubt. The matter is settled by the terms of communal award, so that any community which is covered by the communal award of His Majesty's government must be held to be a minority. Indeed, that is the basis of which the government of India could declare that the Muslims, Sikhs, and Indian Christians and Anglo-Indians are minorities. If these communities are minorities and they are their page.
Oh, sorry. I'm reading the book, that's why. I'm reading the book. Okay.
If these communities are minorities and they are minorities because they are covered by the communal award, then it is difficult to see how the claim of the scheduled caste to be declared a minority be denied, for they too are covered by the same award. Secondly, if government is bound to declare them a minority, then it follows as natural consequences that government is bound to define their share in the services and make it available by the same means and methods by which the share of their communities has been secured to them. Nor can anybody oppose to the quantum of share to which they are entitled as the legitimate share of the scheduled caste. It has been shown that their population in British India is 13.6% and nothing more than a share of 13.6% in the services is claimed for them. This is not injured the Hindus for their population is 50% and they are getting 63%, which is 13% more than their due.
Very good. So you see, there are, Babasaheb Ambedkar is saying that the communal award has already declared the scheduled caste as the minorities, but this particular resolution has not been taking the scheduled caste as the minorities, and that's leading to a problem. And once that is taken care of, that when the scheduled caste are declared the minorities, then their representation will follow. Their due share in the government will follow, and that will not injure the interest of anybody, because the Hindus are already enjoying more than their population, right? So even today, it will be worthwhile to break down the Hindus and which are the communities among them, the Hindus are garnering or cornering the largest representation, right?
Yes.
Indeed, sir.
Must be Brahmins.
Yeah, majority of them, this is all very true. So any comments on this?
Sir, kindly guide the 24th last line and then in the next page the first line. The term minority is political term and whatever may its de jure,
Okay, okay.
Definition is de facto definition can be in the doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
That I believe.
Yeah. De jure means by law. So you define something by law, and de facto means by the existence of certain factual circumstances. So he's saying that we will not enter into the definition of de jure, but if we look at the de facto, and the de facto situation in this case, the factual situation case is the MacDonald Award, the Pune Pact, if you remember, and the communal award that came into existence after the roundtable conferences, which was based on the Simon Commission report. And the MacDonald declared an award where the scheduled caste were supposed to have the separate electorate, which was granted to the Muslims and the Sikhs. And the scheduled caste were granted the same, but there was a Pune Pact. Gandhi opposed that, saying that the scheduled caste are the part and parcel of the Hindu community. But Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's argument was, they are different. Their political rights and their civil rights are different from that of the Hindus. And, based on that, the communal award came into being. And the communal award became the basis for declaring the Muslims, Sikhs, Indians, Christians, and Anglo-Indians are minorities. And also it gave the representation to the scheduled caste in the political process. That means that they were also considered to be minority according to the MacDonald Award. So by de facto, the scheduled caste became the minority. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because the MacDonald Award,
and with the facts and figures, because we are having available with us all the data in the present scenario, and the same things can be reflected right now that still the community is in minority, because their representation is almost negligible.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And this case of scheduled caste, not Hindus, has gone to the, reflected in the census, because the scheduled caste were never Hindus. And, the census has these conditions that the people, they do not accept the supremacy of the Brahmins. They have their own priests, and they never take mantras from the Brahmins, and they eat beef. Isn't it?
Indeed, sir.
So the scheduled caste were never the part of the Hindus, and this is a misnomer. Babasaheb sentence that, I will not die a Hindu. What Babasaheb Ambedkar exactly said that, I won't die calling myself a Hindu. He never considered himself a Hindu. He said, I won't die calling myself a Hindu, right?
Yeah.
There is a large difference between, I won't die as a Hindu and I won't die calling myself a Hindu.
Interesting, sir.
Isn't it? So we, as scheduled caste, were never part of the Hinduism.
Yes.
So I think we have covered a lot of ground here today. And next class, we will begin to read onwards from the 25th point, and we will go on, because you can see how interesting it is to read through it, right?
Yes, sir. If government is bound to declare them a minority, then it follows the statement was that it was Babasaheb was saying that by government's own standard they have to do it because they have only defined it.
Yes. So fascinating point indeed, Dara, and thank you for reading, and we will catch up next session.
I have not read the further things, but do we have any response of that government to which these grievances have been submitted?
Yes, that's a research point, and we will see that a lot of things were taken into consideration by the government, and seats started filling up, and we will see what happened in the history, right?
Yeah,
the impact of this memo.
Right. Thank you. That is very much required.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful representation and such a powerful representation it is, and the response must be as powerful.
All right, then. See you in the next reading session.
So,
Sunny, please.
Yes, sir. So coming to the point of representation, I think probably there was a study, I believe. And I think the case can also be made for the private sectors. I mean, like as we see in the United States and probably in some other countries, like how like it is up to the private companies to identify the marginalized groups, and like they have to inculcate some form of diversity in their company. And plus there's also a study, I believe, which concludes that like how diversity is proportional to efficiency. So in all the aspects, I think this is a matter that must be taken up in the context of India.
Yes. Yes, and I came across a very important think tank that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar started, Schedule Caste think tank. I will send this thing, and it was supposed to advocate for the schedule caste. And I think today also there is a case for having such kind of a think tank consisting of the researchers and thinkers from the community who can develop this policy memo and send it and advocate for them and so on and so forth. We definitely need this kind of studies from of the policies of the other countries like US. They used to have one executive order. I don't remember the exact number of that executive order, which granted the government procurement, because the government is the largest businessman in the country, right? The government has to procure a lot of things, and I think the Congress government tried to do something like.
Indeed, sir. Exactly. I was just trying to say, I think in 2013-14, I believe this issue was raised in the parliament. I'm not sure whether it was Rahul Gandhi or someone, but I believe as this matter went up, I think this was shunned down immediately, most likely by BJP and some Savarna fronted people or parties, I believe. But I believe Rahul Gandhi was raised this point. I'm not sure whether it was Rahul Gandhi or someone, but I think his point was also based on the 2013-14 this SECC that they had conducted, whose data they had for whatever reasons not released actually.
Yeah. See, Sunny, you got a lot of work to do, right? So maybe prepare a note for all of us.
Yeah,
Sure.
Sunny,
This is very important.
This is very important. Are you in the group?
Yeah. Indeed, I'm in the group.
Okay. Just we will be in touch, and as sir is directing us and guiding us and mentoring us, we all of three must do something, no?
Yeah, why not?
And this argument is, and the funny thing is, like when it comes to like this often these points by caste Hindus that like how Indian like how Indians have been able to go such great heights in the US and other in especially in the US actually, but it is actually it is a direct result of the struggle of the blacks actually. I mean, they fought for the inclusion of the many shades of black actually, including Hispanics and Indians. So this idea of diversity quota or diversity representation still exists, and Indians are one of the largest beneficiaries of that thing.
Yeah. Very good point. They claim minority status everywhere. The upper caste Hindus.
And
they claim
cry here
that we are claiming in India, and then
they cry here that it should be made on the economic basis. Then since you are at such a par level when it comes to economic level, but still you are claiming the diversity quota, so they contradict their own arguments actually.
So Sunny, you have to write on this, how expose their diabolical nature.
Sure,
right?
sir. I think I have I have assembled something, so I'll be showing all that stuff.
Dara is there with you to help. Dara is very well read as well.
Sure, sir.
Sir, I want to share about the glorification the media does of individual success. So this individual success is a attribute of liberal neoliberal economy. So it like a person has reached this height from having nothing, and it is good for that person, but it having any change for the society or it is also reaffirmed that you can make it if you work hard, and you have to be extraordinarily lucky or extraordinarily work hard, but otherwise you can't demand this as your right, as it is a, but what is an individual but nothing, but he's in situated in society, right, and in community. So even their success is defined by what society called as success. So this glorification of these individual stories are their way of maintaining the status quo as it is.
Yes.
And so one last point I'd like to point out when it comes to the idea of diversity and representation, like we see in South Africa cricket team actually.
Yeah.
Since after the apartheid, I mean, it does not matter whether the country wins or loses. What matters is at least half of the players should be of the people of the color actually. So, and because of which, I mean, as you wider your talent pool, I mean, individually, I mean, as I had mentioned, like how diversity is proportional to efficiency, and a reason because of which we see great bowlers from South Africa like Makaya, Antony, and some great players actually who had taken the team to such good heights actually. So in every way, I mean, diversity is proportional to efficiency, and it's more than I think it's a matter of national interest actually.
Yes, perfectly put. Perfectly put. So let's meet up next class, because we have so much to discuss and learn from the writings of Babasaheb Ambedkar, right? So
Yes.
see you in the next class, and till then, happy reading, okay?
Indeed, sir.
Jai Bhim, sir.
Jai Bhim, Jai Bhim.
Yeah,
Jai Bhim, sir.